myth of Ur is a legend that concludes Plato's Republic. The story includes an account of the cosmos and the afterlife that greatly influenced philosophical and scientific thought for many centuries. The story begins with a man named Ur. When the bodies of those who died in battle are collected, 10 days after his death, Ur remains undecomposed. 2 days later, he revives on his funeral pyre and tells others of his journey in the afterlife, including an account of reincarnation and the celestial spheres of the astral plane. The tale includes the idea that the moral people are rewarded and the immoral people are punished after death. Although it is called the myth of Ur, the word myth means word, speech, account, rather than the modern meaning, which is basically fantasy. But this also means Mu in the ancient world, and is in relation to Mumu. Mumu is the Logos in the darksome trinity of the Anunnaki. It is worth noting that Logos, in the Greek meaning of the term, actually means persuasion, and Mumu aligns with the Greek momos, aka the fool, the Joker card. As you will see, there are many parallels. In the myth of Ur, the word is used at the end, when Socrates explains that, because Ur did not drink from the waters of Lethe, the account, mythos in Greek, was preserved for us. Myth, mythos, mu theos, means water spirit. There are different levels to this persuasion: Mesopotamia, Egypt, Greece, and beyond. Lethe, pronounced Lethe, is one of the 5 rivers in Hades, the underworld in Greek mythology. Hades has a clear parallel to the Sumerian and Babylonian underworld, where we see an unknown spirit dressing up in mother's clothing. In classic Greek, the word Lethe means oblivion, forgetfulness, and concealment. In keeping with classical mythology, Lethe was also the name of a Greek spirit, the spirit of forgetfulness and oblivion. The waters of Lethe proposes a connection to the goddess Samkat, hence the lotus flower, which is forgetfulness concealed under another guise. I hope you can agree that this is a very different type of water. The real waters of life are the alkaline waters, which are natural spring waters. With many other souls as his companions, Ur had came across an awe-inspiring place with 4 openings, 2 into and out of the sky, and 2 into and out of the ground. Judges sat between these openings and ordered the souls to the path that they should follow. The good were guided into the path of the sky, the immoral were directed below. But when Ur approached the judges, he was told to remain, listening and observing, in order to report his experience to humankind. Meanwhile, from the other opening in the sky, clean souls floated down, recounting beautiful sights and wondrous feelings. Those who returned from the underworld appeared dirty, haggard, and tired, crying in despair when recounting their awful experiences, as each was required to pay a 10-fold penalty for all the wicked deeds committed when alive. There were some, however, who could not be released from the underground: murderers, tyrants, and other non-political criminals were doomed to remain by the exit of the underground, unable to escape. That would be the gatekeeper. Non-political criminals. A group of ticks is actually called a politics. Politics, by definition, is a group of blood-sucking parasites. After 7 days in the meadow, the souls and were required to travel farther. After 4 days, they reached a place where they could see a shaft of rainbow light, brighter than any they had seen before. After another day's travel, they reached it. This was the Spindle of Necessity. Several women, including Lady Necessity, her daughters and the sirens, were present. You probably think of the 7 sisters, but the 7 sisters in modern times are actually 7 men. The 7 sisters are in the stars. The 7 brothers are here on earth, those who decree the fates of mankind. Symbolically, they too are dressing up in mother's clothing. The souls, except for were then organized into rows and were each given a lottery token. Then, in the order in which their lottery tokens were chosen, each soul was required to come forward to choose his or her next life. Recalled the first one to choose a new life, a man who had not known the terrors of the underground, but had been rewarded in the sky. Hastily chose a powerful dictatorship. Upon further inspection, he realized that, among other atrocities, he was destined to eat his own children. This would mean the reward from the sky gods. Observed that this was often the case of those who had been through the path in the sky, whereas those who had been punished chose a better life. So the good go to heaven and become evil. Many preferred a life different from their previous experience. The animals chose human lives, while humans often chose the apparently easier lives of animals. After this, each soul was assigned a guardian spirit to help him or her through their life. They passed under the throne of Lady Necessity, then travelled to the plane of oblivion, where the river of forgetfulness flowed. Passed under the throne of Lady Necessity. As you can see, this is depicted on the throne of Osiris. Each soul was required to drink some of the water in varying quantities. Again, only watched. As they drank, each soul forgot everything. As they lay down at night to sleep, each soul was lifted up into the night in various directions for rebirth, completing their journey. Remembered nothing of his journey back to his body. He opened his eyes to find himself lying on the funeral pyre early in the morning, able to recall his journey through the afterlife. Ishtar has now been completely removed from the narrative. She is simply given the title Lady Necessity, and that is why it is clear myth does have purpose: to defeat the original God concept, the most consistent element. The moral of the story in the dialogue. Plato introduces the story by explaining to his questioner, Glaucon, that the soul must be immortal and cannot be destroyed. Plato tells Glaucon the myth of to explain the choices that we make, and the character we develop will have consequences after death. In Book 2 of the Republic, Socrates points out that even gods can be tricked by a clever charlatan who appears just while unjust in his psyche, in that they would welcome the pious but false man of the people, and would reject and punish the truly just but falsely accused man. Thus, in the myth of when the gods send all men to choose another life, the true characters of the falsely pious and those who are immodest in some way are truly revealed when they choose the life of a tyrant. Those who lived happy but middling lives in their previous life are most likely to choose the same life for their future life, not necessarily because they are wise, but simply out of habit. Those who were treated with infinite injustice, despairing of the possibility of a good human life, chose the souls of animals for their future incarnation. It is through this careful cultivation of attention to the types of lives that emerge from the combination of experience, character, and fate, through the practice of philosophy. In other words, that men knowingly make good choices when confronted with the possibility of a new life, no matter how life treats one, or how successful, famous, or powerful one becomes, one way or the other, or even, as in the myth, how many temporary heavenly rewards or hellish punishments one experiences. These virtues will always work to one's advantage. The ultimate weapon is Anzu, Zu. It is the hook of Scorpio, also known as the cat's eyes. The Great Flood could also be described as literature. Shah was sent forth to destroy the land. A great example would be linked to Saint Bede and my home city of Sunderland. Bede is also connected to the astral plane. He was sent to Monk Wearmouth Monastery at age 7, a very odd number. During this exact point, in 686 AD, the ultimate weapon, a plague hit my region and killed nearly all of the inhabitants. Bede was to write the history of Britain, but there was nobody left alive in the region to protest against it. So there they send the weapon, poison the land, poison the people, and rewrite the literature. Bede's monastery had access to an impressive library, which includes the works by Eusebius, Orosius, and many others. Back to the myth of The myth mentions the Spindle of Necessity, in that the cosmos is represented by a spindle and the 3 daughters of the goddess, Necessity, known collectively as the Fates, whose duty is to keep the rims of the spindle revolving. The Fates, the Sirens, and Spindle are used in the Republic, partly to help explain how known celestial bodies revolved around the Earth according to Plato's cosmology. The Spindle of Necessity, according to Plato, is shaped like the ones we know. This is a symbolic riddle. You already know the ones that they know. They would be those who have no official names, aka the 7. Zu took control of the oracles, fates, and the commandments, and that is why the book is attached to Zu. He stole the tablets of destiny. If you were to look for a myth where they are returned, I don't think you will find one. Even Anu refused to go against Zu, because they would be cursed in the same manner. The Birdman is a curse. Zu is the ultimate weapon of Marduk, Ninurta, who carries the hook, which is actually Zu and Zu, Pazuzu. Zu would be the stinger of Scorpio, the Great Flood. The Spindle of Necessity, the standard Greek spindle, consisting of a hook, shaft, and whorl. The hook was fixed near the top of the shaft. The hook was used to spin the shaft. The word whorl is actually a variant of the word entwined, and of course it is in reference to a plant, a sort of plaited plant, hence Hermes caduceus, is the spindle of fate. Please hit that notification bell to ensure that you are notified of each upload. Share, like, comment and subscribe to support the channel. For more ancient mystery.